read, and the one your children will be happy you read. I think he has around, he has 6 chapters. So right now I'm in chapter 2. Okay, she calls them parts. So she has 6 parts. I'm in part 2. We are looking at now. Let me see. Your child's environment. Chapter 1, we looked at your own environment as a parent. Now we look at your child's environment. So, a counselor recently told me a story about working with a refugee family. He was trying to empathize with them and understand what it must be like to have no permanent home. One of the children piped up, "Oh, we've got a home. We've just got nowhere to put it yet." I like the attitude. I was moved when I heard this remark. It sums up how the love and care between family members can be affectionate, which is something we all need. So, how can we take steps to ensure the relationships that make up being a family feel like a sanctuary? This is what I'll be looking at in this section. How to build a family environment where your children will thrive. Not family structure that matters, it's how we all get on. You and whoever you live with is your children's environment. A large part of how your children go on to feel about themselves and how they interact with others will form in relationship to you and the small circle around you. That's your co-parent if you have one, siblings, grandparents, paid help, and close friends. It is important to have awareness about how we behave in these relationships. For example, do we bring our appreciation to the people close to us, or do we dump our anger onto them? These familiar relationships are influential in determining how a child's personality and mental health develop. Children are individuals, but they are part of a whole system too. As well as close family relationships, a child's system also includes school, their own friendships, and the wider culture. It makes sense to look at systems so that you can make it to the best possible environment for you and for your child. It doesn't have to be perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. It's not the structure of the family that matters, which is good news if you are not in a nuclear family. The arrangements can be conventional or unconventional as you like. Parents can live apart or together in a commune or in a manger at trolleys. They can be gay, straight, bisexual, it doesn't really matter. Research has shown that family structure itself has little effect on children's cognitive or emotional development, and in fact, over 25% of children are brought up in single parent families in the UK, with around half of those single parents having been in a partnership at the time of birth of their child. And they do no better or worse than children from a more conventional setup once factors such as their financial situation and parental education are taken into consideration. So it's okay if you're not in a family or something that is the same as other people. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the hearts and the smiley faces. Thank you. If you come across this video, kindly give us a thumbs up. We are being accountable about reading every day. So this is my first book of the day. I have committed about an hour or so of reading every day. My schedule allows it. So give us a thumbs up, share. Thank you so much. Thank you. So you say there's no difference between a child who is raised by a single parent and that one who is raised from a balanced family or a conventional setup. But the only challenge is factors such as finances and parental education. So if those are sorted, it's okay. So the people in a child's life comprise that child's life or world. It can be one of the richest, and but it can also be a battleground. So it depends on how you respond or what you create for your own child. It matters more than most adults think that family life does not veer too far towards the battleground end of the scale. So on one side there's a loving, rich household, like full of love being the currency, and there's the other side is the battleground where you have to like you're fighting to survive, you're fighting to feel love, you're fighting to feel embraced. So the idea here is to make our home or my home for my environment for my children the most loving and the most accommodative, especially for my son, because I feel like at the point when he was born, we didn't have the most stable environment. So we are patching up. So when there's rupture and repair, it's the time we are doing the repair right now. So children the people in a child's life comprise the child's world. It can be one of richness and love, but it can also be a battleground. It matters more than most adults think that family does not veer too far towards the battleground end of the scale. If children are preoccupied, if they are worried about their security, their safety, and how they belong, they are not free to be curious about the wider world. Not being curious impacts negatively upon how they create, concentrate, and learn. In one survey, teenagers and parents were asked whether they agree or disagree on the following statement. Listen. Parents getting on well is one of the most important factors in raising happy children. 70% of teenagers agreed compared to only 33% of the parents. So that should tell you something. Being in a stable relationship and parents getting on well is one of the most important factors in raising happy children. And 70% of teenagers agreed. Thank you for the thumbs up. I really appreciate it. If you come across this video, kindly give us a thumbs up. It really pushes our content out. This could be because the emotional distress children go through when their parents or carers' relationships aren't functional isn't visible to the grown-ups. You may know how hard it is for you as a parent to look at your child's pain. And therefore, it's really hard to look at how your own actions have contributed to that pain. You may feel justified in acting the way you do, or hopeless at the idea of changing your behavior. It may feel doubting or even overwhelming for you to look at how you interact with your co-parent or other close members of your family. But I hope in this part of the book, I can give you some idea on how to make improvements if you need to. So when parents aren't together, it's a subtopic here. Even if you from your child's other parent, what matters is that you refer to them in respectful ways, that you can appreciate their good points and not always be emphasizing their faults. I know this may seem impossible to some people, especially after a difficult breakup. It may make it easier for you when I tell you how important it is for your child. They see themselves as belonging, attached to, and part of each of you. It is one half of the partnership that brought them into being is often, if one half of the partnership that brought them into being is often referred to as being a bad person, that is all too often internalized by the child, so that they too see themselves as a bad person. A child can also be torn apart by the pull to be loyal to both parents. So what's the best way to negotiate a split? A child fares better afterwards if the parents cooperate with each other and communicate well, and if the child continues to have regular close contact with both parents. If you can manage that, your child is less likely to become depressed. Between the parents. If one parent is often the father, if one parent, it is often the father, but not always, drifts away after separation, the child is more likely to suffer distress, anger, depression, or low self-esteem. That is why it is such a worry that in the UK, more than a quarter of children whose parents have split up have no further contact with their father 3 years after the event. That is a lot. I understand it's not always possible to get along with an ex, as this story I'm about to share shows. Mel is a mom to a 6-year-old son, Noah. She had a relationship with Noah's father, James, for 5 years. They often lived in different countries but didn't see themselves as a committed couple, but they enjoyed each other's company hugely when they did get together. Mel's story may sound extreme, but anyone who's had parenting disagreements with an ex may find it useful. When Mel got pregnant, James assumed she would have an abortion. Well, she didn't. He was furious and tried to sever their connection. Now he pays minimum maintenance and only agreed to do so after the humiliating procedure of a paternity test. Wow. He wants nothing to do with Noah. When I have spoken to people in similar positions to James, they have told me that they like their life as it is. They feel threatened or scared by the possibility of it changing if they were to acknowledge the importance of a dependent. And yet, a child who is not an it, but a person in your life, albeit one who is dependent on you for a couple of decades, is more than a mere catalyst for change. If you were to look at becoming a parent selfishly, a child is in fact a source of enrichment. Also, a child does not cease to exist just because they are being ignored. Sadly, some men and women do distance themselves from their children. It's as though if they pretend they have nothing to do with them, they do not exist. Nels instinctively knew that she must not tell Noah his father had let her down, even though she had felt he had. If her son asks about him, she remembers his dad's many good qualities and talents and tells her son about them. If in future Noah's father should ever want to re-enter his life, Mel being positive about him will help this process. As Noah gets older and asks more questions, it's becoming harder for her. She's worried that her son, when he does know the whole story, will take his father's desertion personally and that it might harm his self-esteem, or maybe distort how he regards his gender, or even negatively influence his own behavior when he's an adult. Because Mel is aware of these pitfalls, she can guide Noah around them, but even so, there's no guarantee he won't at some stage take the fact that his father isn't there for him to hurt. Sometimes there isn't a prescription to make everything okay. Men has a lot of loving and involved family and friends, and feels they do go some way to filling the gap for Noah where a father would have been. I have told you Mel's story because it's not always easy to conjure up a smooth running cooperative relationship with an ex. And when one is lacking, all we can do is try our best not to run down the other parent to a child or indeed to ourselves. I don't know what to say. I've been raised by a single mom. Yeah, at some point I did question where my father was. But for me, personally, I would say it didn't have such a great effect on my life because I had uncles around me who were assertive, who were loving, who showed me what male love meant in a way. But now being where I am, I can say somehow it affected my siblings. I have two brothers, so it affected their, I could say their relationships, like how their take on relationships. How has it affected how I'm raising my children? I don't know. Being raised without a dad, I don't think it really affects how I bring up my children. Of course, I appreciate the fact that I'm able to bring up my children with in their presence, with their father being very present, very actively present, very loving towards them. I don't know. I don't feel resentment to the fact that I didn't grow up with a father and such. But maybe as I read the book, I'll have better understanding of my own feelings. It's still too early to tell. Do I push forward my pain onto my children? No. But I would say I notice that my son gets very agitated whenever the father is not around. He'll always ask, oh, when is that coming back? When yeah, okay. I thought it's a separation anxiety, but of late I'm seeing that it's a little bit more important. Like he might not even have a heart-to-heart talk with the father. He just wants to know that daddy is around. Daddy is around, and he will come, check the office, see he's around, say hello, run and do his own things. Maybe come back and see what he's doing on the computer. It's not like a very, you see, like how I would say social media makes us think that children growing up with both parents is all lovey-dovey and hugs and kicking the ball around and going cycling with the father. Not really. I would say it's just him knowing that daddy is around gives him some sort of peace. Even if the father lives for like 3 or more hours, and they go to bed without having said goodnight to the father, they will wake up asking, where is daddy? And I just have to be reassuring and tell him, oh. So we've learned that you have to be very clear, not dismissive. Like you have to be very clear. Daddy has gone for work, he's gone for 2 or 3 days, he'll be coming back on a certain day. Today, like for him, he knows time in terms of days. Like today is Monday, we'll be coming back on say Saturday. So he'll ask, what day is it today? It's Tuesday. So daddy is coming back on Saturday. So he better come back on Saturday. Otherwise, he will feel like his trust is broken. That's what I've noticed. Like we can't, whenever we plan a trip, we have to be very, very clear to explain it beforehand and to be able to come back within the said parameters. Anyway, that's my household, what I'm noticing. And this book is interesting. I would say it's interesting. It's giving me a lot to think about. So let's go on to the next section. This part is based on someone who is bringing up a child single-handedly, like a single parent. So how to make the pain bearable, this pain of separation. We want to make our child's life pain-free and worry-free. We certainly don't want them suffering because we were unlucky with our choice of the person we build a relationship with, or because there's conflict in our close relationship. But it is thank you. Let's go. Alright, okay. Hata nimaliza hii section ni kadogo tu, but it's impossible to protect them completely. Okay, wait. We certainly don't want them suffering because we were unlucky with our choice of person we had a relationship with, or because there's a conflict in our close relationship, but it is impossible to protect them completely. No life is without angst, unresolved mystery, longing, and loss. I don't know. So how can you make their pain bearable is to be alongside them and with them when they feel it. Like, don't dismiss it. You need to be present for your child and the people close to you, open and accepting, and to what they show you. Open and accepting to what they show you, like their expression of feelings and how they feel. You may not be able to fix their pain, but by being there with it, rather than denying it or pushing it away, you can keep them company through it. And this kind of untuned company makes everything more bearable. I'll say more about this in the part of feelings, which is like the next part. So when parents get together, if you're caring for your child with a co-parent, the love, goodwill, caring, and respect between the two of you will contribute to your child's sense of security. And yet, as anyone who had a child knows, it puts a strain on your relationship. Spontaneity may be compromised. Time alone with your partner or with other people you feel close to diminished, and time on your own reduced or disappears completely. You or your partner's relationship with sex may change, and opportunities for sex will appear less often. Like if you know you have had a child, you know it's the truth. Sleep patterns will be disrupted. It is likely that you will have to manage on significantly less sleep. Each member of a couple or of a wider extended family may have different parenting philosophies and dynamics within the relationship. Um, those might shift. Your work habits will change, and if you stop paid work, you may alter how you see yourself too. Isn't that true? Interesting. Like, I was kind of working. No, I got married soon after my volunteership, but I know all these things are true. If you had, because I had independence, I would go wherever I wanted to go until our child was born, and I knew I had to slow down. I had to be keen on how I talk to my husband. I had to be keen on my own emotions and my down moments so that they don't impact my child and they don't impact my partner. Because like my son has been an only child for like 4 years, but there are times if we were not in good terms, he would notice and even try to come and cuddle, ask me what's wrong, or go and tell daddy, oh, mommy looks sad, all these things that I didn't think a child will perceive. So now that we have two children, we are very keen. Of course, now again, his attention is shifted. He spends more time with his sister than with us, but he will still notice. Like if we are not talking, if we're not coming down for meals, we'll be worried. So we have been very keen to make sure there's no drastic or dramatic things happening in the house for their own peace and safety. Yeah, so your work habits will change, and if you stop paid work, you may alter how you see yourself too. There will be an effect on your social life. There may be less to no contact with former colleagues. Some friends may seem to reside for a while due to your preoccupation with your baby and so on. And this is by no means an exhaustive list. If you are in a couple, it changes. Like family life changes, everything changes, and if you don't accept change, you are the one who is rotting away. So life needs to change. These changes can also contribute to the resentment you may experience towards each other or towards your baby, your child. By the way, it's better to admit any resentment, even if only to yourself. If you don't, you are more likely to justify acting out of that feeling rather than taking responsibility for it. If you feel resentful towards your partner, it's best to acknowledge it, whether in your mind or by writing or by saying it. Life is never static, and being able to accept, work with, and embrace change is more useful than resisting it. Thinking about how you can be flexible may be more effective than trying to regain what you lost. Isn't that the truth? Like for someone like me who was so petite and so small, this is just on a physical aspect. And then now 2 children later, I am very huge compared to, I'm not like I'm not very obese, but I am huge compared to what I was 5 or 7 years ago. To think that I can get back to that body is insane, but I can embrace my new physique, my new glowing face, my new body shape and all that. But I find people who give birth to their first child and they want to go back to how they looked before, I would say it's not possible, because your body grew to accommodate the pregnancy, it is continuing to grow to accommodate breastfeeding and mothering and all that. So why would you wish to go back to the way you were before? Now that is on a physical basis. The other one is mental. If you have a certain relationship with yourself and your partner before you get a child, once you get your child, partners don't know how to they can't breastfeed, they can't necessarily nurse a child. So when we make it feel like this is just now my special thing, it's for me and my child, your partner will feel left out and maybe even start feeling resentful towards you or towards the child. So it's better to admit that you're feeling left out or resentful. So, uh, so it's better to change, to accept the change rather than to resist it. Thinking about how you can be flexible may be more effective than trying to regain what you lost. This doesn't mean you don't miss your old self sometimes, and it doesn't mean that you may need to work on surrendering to a new one and embracing it. Remember Mark on page 19? He resented the way in which his life was turned upside down by the change of being a couple to becoming a family of three. He learned to accept the change by tracing the source of his resentment to his own upbringing and finding meaning in childcare rather than just writing it off as a boring chore. He also found that when he accepted joint and equal responsibility for his child with his partner, this freed her up to be more of her old self again, rather than being wholly preoccupied with the baby. Like, I wish all male partners would understand that. One thing, of course, we change, but if you are there through the change, it makes it easier for the female partner to accept it. Because let me tell you, the number of times I used to tell my husband, okay, now we are new parents, now we have a child, we are we were so young. And I think I had read or seen it somewhere that we needed to tell our brains that we are now parents. We now have a third person to take care of. We're not just taking care of ourselves. We needed to verbalize it, to laugh about it, to remind ourselves that we can't just stay in the sitting room and order in to do what. We have to remember that there's a child who is depending on us to eat and to survive. And I would say that verbal reminder helps me a lot. I don't know about my partner, but personally, it helped me to keep telling myself, oh my God, I'm now a mom. Oh my God, I now have a child. I have a son. Oh my God. Because, we think that once you've given birth, it is an automatic thing that you remember you are a parent or a mother. It doesn't work that way. Most times, let me tell you, if you are here and you have plans to get a child or a family, most times you have to remind yourself that you are married. I think maybe some of you have seen that video on TikTok where the girl goes back to her parents' house because she got married on Saturday or Friday. Now it's Monday. She's back from work and she goes back to her mother's house as she was used to it. Your brain needs to know that you have changed. Your circumstances have changed. You are now a mother. You are now a parent. You need to take care of yourself as a parent, not just as an individual. You can no longer do certain stretches. You can no longer dress in a certain way. You are a parent. I know it might be frowned upon to say that. Like, people want to say that you're gonna snap back to your old self. It doesn't happen. You will end up depressed and stressed. Ask those people who go back to work sooner than normal, and they're trying to concentrate on their work, but all they think about is their child, and maybe the child is like 4 weeks, 6 weeks. I am grateful I got to stay with my children for like 9 months, 2 years. I stayed home, and my partner was able to continue working. But at some point I got tired. I think that was like 9 months in. So thinking that this disruption is boring, that now being a parent is boring, is not accurate. And I'll stop there. It's a very short and intriguing chapter. Very short and intriguing. And I hope you will be here to go through it. But if you, I think, I don't know, it's a Penguin book. It's by Penguin. Probably available in several stores. And I really say it is really worth reading. The way the author has written that your children will be glad you read it. It is really worth reading. If you ever come across it, I don't know whether it's there on, of course it's available online. Try and get this book. If you are planning to be a parent in any way, get this book. It's called The Book That You Wish Your Parents Had Read and Your Children Will Be Glad You Read. Okay guys, see you next time. I have done my 30 minutes and now I'm off. It's almost lunchtime, so fix my meals and then I will be back here at around 2. Yeah, so remember to be kind to yourself, speak kindly to yourself, take care of yourself the way you are. If you've changed during circumstances of life, take care of yourself. Find out what you need to do for your own self. If it's hydrating, if it's exercising, if it's eating better, if it's kinder words when you're thinking about yourself, when you stand in front of a mirror, in front of a camera, think kind words towards yourself. Journal if you can, if you have the time. Do something that is good for you. Okay? Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Check out, if you have not subscribed, kindly subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I'm on live or I have uploaded a video. Okay? Bye, to-dos.